After I left the Philippines, so I was at the top of my career. But when I went to America, at that time I felt like, okay, goodbye showbiz. Maybe I'll just be a housewife or whatever. I don't know. And then I thought about, may pinag-aralan din naman ako. I learned a few things in interior design. Maybe I can do something in that area. But then it just didn't click with my heart because I know that wasn't me. That isn't me. And so my husband gave me an idea. Would you like to go back to school? And that perked me up. And I said, yeah, I want to go back to school. And he asked me,
What do you want to be?
I want to be a psychiatrist. And I said, I don't know about that because you're too old.
Welcome to Linguist Access Podcast, where we all get together to learn more about inspiring stories behind every journey that will give you the courage to push past challenges and overcome obstacles, all for God's glory, with your host, Shalini Oritaves.
Welcome back to Linguist Access Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of extraordinary individuals who are making waves in their fields. I am your host, Sha, and today we have a very special guest. Of course, she's a native in the Philippines, just like me. She is a respected actor in the local and international entertainment industry. As a matter of fact, she has 800 appearances on movies and television. She is the daughter of celebrated Philippine broadcasters and producers Helen Vela, which I also watched that, Lovingly Yours Helen, and Orlando Punzalan. Princess is actually famous, and I would have to say yes, I was really amazed and stunned with her performance in the movie or TV series Mula sa Puso. Her role was the villain there and chosen for that part because of her history of being an underdog, a sweet and gentle character. Actually, in nature, you would be amazed how she turned out really to be someone else there. So I would say she's an icon in the Philippines. She's currently an RN as she continues to be an actor also here in the US. She's happily married for 19 years and she has a 10-year-old daughter. Please welcome no other than Miss Princess Punzalan, RN. Welcome to the show, Princess.
Hello, Sha. Hello. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here, Miss Princess, but how do you want me to call you?
Princess.
Princess. Okay. So let's start by talking about your life when you were young. I don't know, but I was really thinking about this. I watched almost all of your interviews, and what are the odds of being the daughter of two famous personalities in the media?
I guess I lucked out. I'm blessed to have parents who were able to guide me pagdating sa show business. They were both from show business. My mother and my father were both broadcasters and producers, and they guided me well when I entered show business.
If there's something that you regret, if there's any.
Well, I regret not being very young. So of course, when we're young, there are a lot of things that we don't realize. And I lost my mom when I was 24. And I guess I still consider that as someone who's not mature, not yet mature. And I wasn't really mature at 24. And I regret not being able to fully realize how grateful I should be having my mother as my mother. And I wasn't able to express gratitude to her when she was still alive. There were some constraints in the relationship, and I wish I had my brain and mindset now when I was still with her when I was younger. I could have loved her better. I could have been more grateful. I could have been a better friend to her. I could have been more gracious. I could have been more merciful, So I guess that's my greatest failure that I feel in my life. I wasn't able to maximize my relationship with her.
Was it because she was really busy, like with her schedule, and you were also working at the time? Can you tell us more about it?
Our relationship was difficult to navigate because she had her own baggage. I had my own. And we were still working through our own pains and the things that we have gone through as individuals. I was growing up, she was really busy. She was workaholic. And I felt because now I realize that because of her past, it made her feel like she would be of greater worth, having a better understanding now of her past and how it affected her. I see that she had more worth if she worked harder. She grew up in poverty and she grew up in lack. And so because of that feeling of fear of lack, she felt like she had to keep working to make sure that her children will not go through what she went through. And because of that fear, we didn't have much time together. She worked during Christmas, before Christmas, New Year's Day, before New Year's Day, all the holidays she was working. Out of the whole year, we would only spend a maybe straight 1 week when we would be out of town or be out of the country for a week for Holy Week. That was it. And even on Sunday, she works. She worked. So it was difficult to cultivate the relationship because she was absent a lot of times. But I know now that it was all because of love also, because she wanted to protect her children. And then I was also going through my own pains. I was going through things. I was trying to thresh out things that I experienced in my life. And so it was just difficult to have a better relationship during that time. We
Yeah.
were both uh, healing at that time.
I actually watched one of the interviews of, I mean, I don't really want to, mention her name here, but it's also a good thing to contemplate on that matter because it is Andy Eigenman and Jacqueline Jose, which also has the same concern. Mom was so busy, but it didn't make, sabi nga ni Andy Eigenman, it does not make her less of a mother just because she was not there for me. So now that we are working as a nurse here, we're nurses in the US and the schedule is kind of challenging. I mean, good that we can work 3 days, 4 days, it depends. But how do you balance that? Like, of course, I know that you've learned your lesson and at the same time, you're working as an actor. So how do you make balance out of that?
Even if I'm exhausted when I go home, I make time for her. I spend time with her. I always put her to sleep. I put her to bed. I read. That's our tradition. I read to her as she falls asleep. And it's that few minutes before she falls asleep when we start talking about how her day went. And because usually when I get home and when she gets home from school or from activities, we're both trying to decompress also before we start having a family chit chat. But the last few moments before she falls asleep, that's the golden moment that we have when she is most relaxed to share about the good and the bad. And I get to talk about things about my day and how I could help her manage her emotions during the times that she would go through, like sometimes rejection with her friends or whatever emotional things that she's trying to work through. So I keep that time, the time before she sleeps. And then I just leave her when she's already sleeping. And then that's the time when I talk with my husband. Uh, yeah. So you have to make a decision to keep the relationship going.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, one thing about it that was really, everybody was surprised about it when you turned out to be a nurse in the US. Were you thinking about this when you were in the Philippines? Like, I know it
Not
wasn't
at
some,
all.
yeah. So I believe you were a breadwinner at a very young age when your mother passed away. Is this something that is true?
So when my mom passed away, people expected me to fill in her shoes. Those were huge, gigantic shoes to fill. I wasn't able to be like her. I tried my best. But then at some point, I realized I can't be her because I am me. And I tried to continue producing, but there's a time and season for everything. So I was able to produce her show for 4 years and the comedy show that she left us with for 2 more years. But then I felt like, you have to know when to stop. And at that time, I just had to stop and say, we tried, but then I think I have to move on with my own life and be me. So yes, going back to your question, I had to be my mom at some
Mhm.
point and continue doing the work that she left behind. At some point, I couldn't do it anymore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did you finish college in the Philippines? If you don't mind.
I took up interior design. I finished the course, and then as I was trying to get the college degree for that, I realized I don't like it. I
Oh.
mean, I had great. I was an A student, but I don't
Wow.
like it. But the only reason I pursued it was because my mother told me. Alam mo yung Filipino
Mm,
culture na
yeah.
after I graduated high school, I really wasn't decided yet what to do. I wanted to be a doctor,
Mhm.
but I didn't have the courage to tell my mom that I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't have the confidence to actually pursue that. I didn't think I was smart enough to do that when I was younger. I just didn't have good self image at that time. And
Mhm.
I kept it a secret. And so I didn't really tell my mom. But she said, you're artistic. Ito yung uso, yung people are
That's true.
doing well as interior designers. So, anak,
Totoo.
go for it. Do this. I said, okay, mom. So I did it. I was a straight A student, but I didn't
Wow.
like it.
You were
So
not happy.
at some point I said, yeah, at some point I said, Mama, I don't want to pursue this anymore. I don't like it. So I said, okay.
So will you be a mom like for your 10-year-old daughter na who will choose a career for, I mean, a course for her, or you will let her decide for herself?
As a mom, you know the talents and abilities and skills that your child has, and you help them grow in those areas. But in the end, it's their choice because it's their life if they want to do it or not.
Kasi parang typical siya lalo na 'pag nasa Amerika ka at Pinoy ka na yung mga bata, yung anak mo, you will always mean majority like the people that I am with, like mga friends ko, mag-nurse ka muna bago ka kumuha ng ibang kurso. You need to be a nurse first before anything else. So that thing is like you said, it's not something that you would want, to happen with your kid kasi your daughter, you want her to decide for herself. Whatever it is that you like doing, I will be here to support you. Now, with you, why nursing among all other fields?
Well, when after I left the Philippines, so I was at the top of my career. But when I went to America, at that time I felt like, okay, goodbye showbiz. Maybe I'll just be a housewife or whatever. I don't know. And then I thought about, may aralan din naman ako. I learned a few things in interior design. Maybe I can do something in that area. But then it just didn't click with my heart because I know that wasn't me. That isn't me. And so my husband gave me an idea. Would you like to go back to school? And that perked me up. And I said, yeah, I want to go back to school. And he asked me, what do you want to be? I want to be a psychiatrist. And I said, I don't know about that because you're too old. I mean, kumbaga, if we're going to be practical, if I have to study for at least 12 more years, then by the time I am done with schooling, I'm going to retire. I mean, that's not cost effective.
Mm.
So he said, I don't think that's practical. And I agreed with him. And so I decided to become a nurse because it's still the same. It's health related. You help people. and I want to help people get better. So I feel it has the same fulfillment for me if I'm able to help another person. So yun,
Yeah.
nag-nursing ako, and thank God I did, because it's one thing that I know na it's a career where I don't think robots can replace us,
Yeah.
because you
That's
need that
true.
human touch to
Mm.
help another
I
person
agree.
get better.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of nurse are you?
Sa ngayon, halo-halo. Sometimes I'm a desk
What?
nurse, sometimes I'm an IV nurse, sometimes a wound nurse.
What?
Depende ko ano yung kailangan doon sa facility na pinagtatrabahuhan ko. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. Yeah.
Wow. So it's something that you are happy doing, but right now, balancing nursing and acting, I know it is challenging. What are some of the yeah, I would say biggest challenges you've faced juggling these roles? I mean, being an actor, I know it's your first love because that's what you did way back. But yeah, between two things, like how did you juggle?
I guess I can't really choose one or the other, because one good thing about nursing is it's stable. You have a regular full-time job and you're always needed as a nurse. As an actor, I would consider it something like a passion, something that would make my heart happy, but it's not something that would be consistent for me, because there's not a role for me every day. And I recognize that. So I need a full time job to support my passion. So
Mhm.
I like both.
That is
I
true.
can't pick one or the other.
Mhm. You've achieved so much across multiple domains. And looking back, if you did not marry an American citizen, is going to the United States part of your option? Because you were, like you said, you were very successful in your career. Like, I think yun yung pinakakasagsagan talaga, I would say. Like, left and right, your offers. And here comes, you got married and your husband, you both decided to fly and work and live in the United States of America. Kung hindi naging American citizen yung husband mo, magiging option mo ba ang pumunta ng Amerika?
I never dreamed of living
Mhm.
in America. Never.
Mhm.
I always thought that I would live and die in the Philippines, that I would always be in the Philippines. I was satisfied in the Philippines. I was fulfilled in the Philippines. I was very happy living in the Philippines. And so I didn't have a need. It didn't even enter my mind that it was possible for me to live outside of the Philippines. So when it happened, it was a tough choice, because I was leaving my family, my friends, my career. I was turning back on a lot of the good things that I was experiencing in the Philippines. But you go where love is. And I felt like it was time. As I've said, there's a time and season for everything. And I felt at that
Mhm.
time that it was a season for change. And I pursued my relationship, my new marriage, and I went to America. And so I started a new life. It wasn't easy, but having a very supportive husband helped, because he was
Mhm.
very understanding and caring, and he helped me get acclimated to the new environment. It's like he would push me to go outside. It's like when I got to Michigan, it was winter. And for 2 weeks, I didn't leave the house. Lamig eh.
My goodness.
And in Michigan, I think it's winter for 6 months. So,
Yeah, that's true. That
so,
is true.
so I wouldn't leave the house. And he kept egging me, like, come on, leave that. Go outside, walk around. I said, it's too cold. I don't have the proper winter outfit. I don't have a coat. Use mine. I don't have gloves. Use mine. So I didn't have any reason anymore to stay home. And then
Mm,
the good thing about living in Ann Arbor is a lot of international people live in that area.
that is
So you
true.
see, like every nation is represented in Ann Arbor because of
Mhm.
University of Michigan, and that's
That
where
is
my
true.
husband was studying at that time. It was a good place to start because it totally took me out of my comfort zone. And I really had to start renewing my mindset and renewing my, changing my habits. And it helped a lot that I was in a good environment, a good husband, and there was internet already, and social media was just starting at that time. I had Friendster and forgot what the other thing was, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember Friendster a lot, and I
Mhm.
kept my relationship with all my friends through the social
Mhm.
media. So it didn't feel like I was really alone. It
Mhm.
didn't feel like I was totally releasing all my relationships. So ayun, so I'm grateful for social media because it helped me adjust to my new environment.
Mhm. So, Princess, this actually, my next question is this is referring to your career as a nurse. I know the path that you had to take was not the same with other Filipinos whom their dream is to just be a nurse in the US. Right now, there is an ongoing retrogression. That means that for nurses, we can be petitioned. Well, if you're not married to an American citizen, you're either petitioned by an employer or you're going to be studying here. So I am not quite sure with the technicalities behind it, but usually for nurses, we are offered like, EB3 or employment based petition visa. And I know a lot of nurses. Actually, majority of my audience will be nurses, and some of them are still in the Philippines. And they are discouraged because one of the lawyers said that nobody could really tell when is this going to be lifted. Baka 5 or 10 years pa. Like, and they're discouraged because as a matter of fact, I have a classmate in college na 12 years niyang tinake yung NCLEX. I mean, ang tagal niya kasi bagsak, bagsak. Yes, that is true. And I mean, I don't wanna, talagang alam ko na discouraged na siya. She just passed, I think, 6 months ago after 12 times of taking the NCLEX. Ngayon nagsarado ang Amerika. And then she told me, naiiyak siya kasi hindi niya na alam saan siya patutungo. And if you're a typical nurse in the Philippines, your thing would be to go out of the country. I mean, that's something practical. That is really a dream of every nursing student na pupunta ng Amerika. Like, as a nurse in the US, what will be your advice to them? Like, is it something worthy to be, waited on or upon, or it's something na sige, you can go out of the country. US is just another country. Is it really worth it to be a nurse in the US? Like all of the sacrifices, is it worth it?
It doesn't just have to apply to nursing. It's in any kind of career. If that is what you really want, then pursue it. And it sometimes if you hit a dead end, it doesn't have to be this place or that place. Eventually, if you don't know where to go, what to do, there's always a higher power who can guide us on what to do.
Amen.
And sometimes there are limits to what we can see, limits to what we can understand, limits to what we can do. But there is a higher power who can enable us to do something else or go somewhere else. If the door is closed for you to go to America, then for sure another door is open for you to go somewhere else or to do something
Mhm.
else. Like for example, sometimes I audition for roles that I really, really, really want and I work hard at it. And I think and I feel and other people say, you're perfect for this role. And then so I give it my all, but I don't get it. Of course, I feel bad for a little bit, but then because I have faith in God, I know He is my shepherd. He will bring me to where I should be. If that is not the path that I should take right now, that it means that my time was meant for something else for
Mhm.
now.
Mhm.
That I should
Amen.
concentrate on giving my energy to something else at that moment. It's not meant for me. God does not withhold any good thing from those whose walk is blameless. So I trust that kung hindi yun mangyari sa paraan na gusto ko, sa oras na gusto ko, then something else is meant for me at that moment.
Amen. Amen.
So, wag ka mawala ng pag-asa. I'm sure something else will open up for you. Hey, the Middle East, I think there's people, nurses going to
Mm-hmm.
Dubai, the
Yeah,
Middle
that's
East, Germany. So, maraming ibang choices. It's not just America. Ang ating future hindi nakasalalay sa isang bansa lang.
that is
So,
true. Amen to
so
that.
ayun, huwag kang mawala ng pag-asa dahil kung talagang yan ang nakaguhit para sa iyo, yun ang passion mo, yun ang gusto mong gawin, magkakaroon ka ng ibang pagkakataon na ma-practice kung ano yung natutunan sa iyong pag-aaral.
You have so many, you wear several hats. Ang dami. Nanay, nurse, actor, wife. What is your day like? Like you start your day.
Usually I wake up at 4 a.m. and then I meditate before my day goes, my day starts because there's so many things that can go wrong during your shift. And I pray, like I always pray, God, help me to do my job well. Help me to do what is right. Help me to make
Mhm.
the correct decisions. Help me to make wise decisions during my shift. I pray that no one gets hurt. I pray that everyone is safe. I pray that everyone will get better.
Mhm.
And so I pray for my day. And then I also answer emails and answer like kung ano man yung mga messages na natanggap ko.
Mhm.
And then I prepare for my day and then I get showered, dressed, and sometimes I help make my daughter her lunchbox.
Mhm.
And then I go to work. I always try to go to work earlier than the actual time that I should be there. Ayun, and then I work for at least 8 hours. And then I go home. By the time I go home, if I have time, I still cook. But sometimes my husband cooks. So that's a blessing. And so we have dinner together. And then I help my daughter with her homework. We watch a movie or watch animation every now and then. Or yan. And tapos I prepare her for going to bed. We brush our teeth at the same time. And then I read to her. We talk. And then we go to sleep. I have her go to sleep and then I go to our room. Kami ng asawa ko. Minsan nag-uusap kami.
Mhm.
And to get debriefed kung ano
Yeah.
nangyari din po maghapon.
Mhm.
Uh, ayun, and then I go to sleep and then the same thing all over again the next day.
Yeah, it's like a routine, but then again, when you have God and you know that God is going to, arrange your schedule, orchestrate it in a way that you're not just living, but you're also making a difference. And I know you are really truly making a difference. Now, my question is, in your own definition, what is success?
I think success is meeting your goals
Mhm.
and knowing what your goals are is a key. Kasi kung wala kang goal, hindi mo alam kung successful ka ba o hindi. I don't measure success in metrics like money, savings,
Mhm.
number of followers, number of likes. That's not how I measure success. I measure success is if I was able to meet my goal for the day. I go from day to day.
Mhm.
I don't really have long-term plans. I have an idea of where I want to go, but
Mhm.
it's difficult to make a plan na nakasulat talaga na ito talaga yung gagawin ko for the next few years because things change every day. So I go from day to day. Kung ano yung, but I have more or less kung ano yung gusto ko.
Mhm.
And I just trust that God will lead me where I should be.
So, would you consider yourself successful now?
Yes, I think I'm successful because I'm able to do the things that I know that I want to do. Yung goals ko na meet, like my daughter is happy, my husband's happy. I have a very peaceful home life.
Mhm.
Wala akong kaaway.
Mhm.
I have no bitter feelings against anyone. Nothing negative is holding me back. I'm peaceful. I sleep well at night. I know my relationship with God is good.
Mm,
So, I have nothing that holds me back. So I'm just relaxed and
mhm,
quiet and happy. And I just go
mhm,
from task to task, from minute to minute, day by day. I don't have a chip on my shoulder.
mhm.
So, yun lang, my
That you can
breath
do what you
is
want.
full. Kung
Oh,
buong-buo yung paghinga ko ng walang
oh.
problema, yung gano'n.
Mhm,
There are challenges. There are a lot of challenges, but I go through them with courage, knowing that God will always be with me, especially when we do our nursing job. There's always challenges. There's always
yes,
surprises. But
always.
I know that God is always with me. So I know at the end of the day, natapos ang trabaho ko ng maayos.
Mhm. Amen. With everything you have accomplished in life, what's your greatest fear? Ano yung takot na takot ka?
I'm afraid of hurting other people. I'm afraid of causing other people uh,
Harm.
harm. Lalo na being a nurse, ayokong
Mhm,
magkamali to the point na magkakaroon ng harm yung pasyente. That's one of my greatest fear.
mhm,
And the personal life ko, the same thing. Ayokong makakos ng harm sa ibang tao.
mhm,
So, although that does not mean magsisinungaling ako kung kailangan. Diba?
mhm.
Di ba, may mga, there are
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
truths that need to be said. It may cause a little bit of pain, a twinge,
Mhm, mhm,
some discomfort, but sometimes you need to say the truth to make things better.
mhm.
So I just don't want to cause people harm. Yun lang.
Where do you plan to retire? Like, I mean, I know it's too early to talk about that, but did you ever consider going back to the Philippines? Because, I mean, for a typical Filipino, that's what they always have in mind. Like, I think I want to go back to the Philippines. Like, what about you, Princess? Like, where do you plan to retire if ever that time comes?
I haven't really decided yet. It would be nice to retire in the Philippines because I'll be close to my family, but then my daughter is being raised here and I'm sure her roots will be here. So that will be tough. I really don't know kung saan ako mapupunta.
So yeah, as we wrap up, what are your future plans or goals? You said you live daily, whatever it is. I have plans in my mind, but day by day, that's how I live my life. In terms of your career, your family, in your profession, yes. What are your future plans, if you have any? Can we have a glance of that,
Um,
or yeah?
I just plan to continue acting as much as I can. If there are offers for me, if there are roles for me that's there, then if I like the role, then I'll do it. Because I think kung binigyan ka ng Panginoon ng talent, kailangan gamitin mo yon. So I will use it and I will try my best to keep sharpening the talents that I have. Hindi lang naman acting ang talent ko. So kung ano man yung aking mga talents na binigay niya sa akin, I'll just continue to use them and sharpen them and to be of help for other people.
Lastly, before we go, is there one piece of actionable advice would you like to give to our colleagues and to all the people out there who are listening to us or watching us right now?
Yung pinaka-importante sa akin, the thing that's always in my brain is that what would I want the nurse to do for me if I was in this patient situation? It's like try to always put yourself in the other person's position and try to think if I was the patient, what would I want the nurse to do for me? So that's my guide. And I try to be as kind as I can, as patient as I can, as gentle as I can with the patient. I try my best to listen. I listen. I listen to them. I listen to what they say. Kasi minsan, may mga patients, they just need to be heard. Wala man tayo magawa. There may be things that we can't really solve because it's beyond us. But the fact that they know that we care enough to listen to their side of the story, it helps them.
I asked you, I forgot, but it just popped up in my mind. I asked you in our email or in our exchanges about what was or what is your biggest failure right now living here, and you talk about your daughter not being able to speak our native language, which is Filipino. Why do you think that is a failure?
Because it's something that she wants. She wants to learn the language. She wants to understand it, but it's difficult for me to teach her because it's just hard for me to teach her how to speak Tagalog
That's you.
because there's
That.
no one else to speak Tagalog to at
Mhm.
home, and it's hard to practice. And then I don't have TFC. I don't have all the Filipino channels. Um, and you know why? Because when I do have Filipino channels, nothing gets done at home. Naka-glue na yung mukha ko sa TV. Hindi na ako makaalis sa TV pagka there's Filipino channel or GMA. Sabi nila malaking tulong kung naririnig nila lagi ang
Uh-huh.
lingwahe.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
there's nothing, we don't have that at home. So little by little, I buy books that have translations. Every now and then I talk to her and I teach her few words, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm not a good teacher.
Yeah, before we go, where can our listeners or viewers find out more about you and your ventures?
Princess Punzalan actor sa Facebook, sa
Mhm.
Instagram naman, Real Princess Punzalan. So you can see everything that I've been doing from those social media platforms.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure learning a lot about your journey, hearing your insights. And thank you so much. So thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. And again, stay tuned for more of this. Thank you very much, Miss Princess. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Linguist Access Podcast. Please give us a review on iTunes, leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode.